What is going on, everybody? Browns gratification here, and today we're going to be grading the 2020-2021 Cleveland Browns defense. So, much like yesterday, just going to explain to you guys why I put them here and why not. So, I have all the starters plus a few backups like Adrian Claiborne, Porter Gustin, Jacob Phillips, Mike Wilson. You guys get the deal. So, we're starting off with Joe Woods. Now, Joe Woods, people would rag on his defense, right? Just at some points there was communication issues, which, we barely. I don't think we even played at least half the season with our starting. No, technically we didn't because Greedy Williams would be starting, so we didn't even have our starting DBs, together at all. And it's not really his fault, He expected Grant Delpit to be okay, Greedy Williams to be okay, and when you're stuck with, some slow corners and, not the fastest safeties, that's what's gonna happen. You get burned. And it seemed once, Ronnie Harrison came onto the field, communication errors were fixed, right? There wasn't that many, but there would still be some, which would lead me to say like Joe Woods needs to take care of that. So it's not really his fault, but I think we're gonna put Joe Woods, um, considering we did go 11-5, and there were some games which made me want to drop him down to a D, but I think in all fairness, it'd be fair for us to, or at least for me to put him at the B tier. Moving on to Miles Garrett, I don't think there's a question about this. He's an S tier. Now I know I mentioned last game if you miss some games, it's gonna be a little tough, but he's Miles freaking Garrett. I mean, one of the most unstoppable forces in this game. So I mean, I don't think it would be fair again if I put him anything low. Now, Denzel Ward's a tricky situation because much like Miles Garrett, he's a beast on the field, but didn't play. I don't think he definitely didn't play all 16. I'm trying to remember how much he missed. Um, let's see, he played. I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 13 games, and then he missed one playoff game against the Steelers, right? So I'm gonna put Denzel Ward. He had 2 interceptions on the season, 46 tackles. Still think he can improve a little bit better, but he's going to his 4th year. Hopefully he improves. I'll put him at that A tier here over here because he is still the best corner, on the team. So I mean, there it is. Ronnie Harrison. Now I really love the pickup of Ronnie Harrison when we picked him up. I knew he was going to be beast, and he was. He had a pick six, a couple, I think 2 more interceptions. So I think he had 3 total. I could double check that though, but I mean, once we added him, it was what we needed. And actually, sorry, he only had 1 interception. It was a pick six against Indiana, and then he had a sack. So, I mean, he definitely helped out this defense a ton, and happy that we have him. He did miss some games. He missed 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he played 12 games total. So he missed 4 games. That was from injury. He did get injured a little bit this season, but let's just hope that's not the big issue here. So I'm gonna put him at A. Now looking at this, I think there's only gonna be one player on the S tier that I have in my notes, so it's gonna stay Miles Garrett. Just gonna spoil that for you guys, and I think you guys would expect that too. Anderson Dejo, not the greatest player. I think you guys know I'm gonna go here. Again, it's not his fault. He's 33, 34 years old. He was expected to take a few snaps off here and there for Grant Delpit and ended up starting basically the whole season. It wasn't really his fault, but of course, we got to put him there. Yeah, there it is. Moving on, Terrence Mitchell. Terrence Mitchell was a really good number 2 corner for us this season and has been for the past couple seasons. Wasn't that lockdown like Denzel Ward, but he definitely, if we didn't have him, we'd definitely be in have a worse record than we would have now. Again, I'm putting him at the B tier just because Denzel Ward's an A and he didn't perform as good as Denzel Ward, so I would, put him at B. I think that's only fair. Moving on, Sheldon Richardson. Now, Sheldon Richardson's going to a C. He did have a pretty decent season, but for the money that he's making and what we expect him to do, it's just production-wise, it's not there. He did have 4.5 sacks, but wow, did the Browns struggle with stopping the run. It looked like in the beginning of the season, though, that they were, the D line was actually doing something pretty nice, but just as the season went on, wasn't turning out that way. So, fortunately, Sheldon Richardson is going to be at C. Um, yeah. Moving on to Olivier Vernon. Now Olivier Vernon had his best season in a couple of years now. He had 10.5 sacks, and unfortunately, he went down with an injury. So that was probably the last game we'd ever see with Olivier Vernon as a Cleveland Brown. But man, he stepped up. There were some games though. He had like a 3 sack game against the Eagles. He was just, it wasn't uh kind of inconsistent, right? Because he had 3 sacks against the Eagles, 2 games where he had 2 sacks. So it wasn't like a sack a game type of thing, which we don't expect him to have. But you, those the 10.5 sacks come from a breakout game or two. So, but he did have 10.5 sacks, and we're gonna keep him at the B tier because I still think he did better than Sheldon Richardson. Larry Ogunjobi, boys, was he disappointing? He's not D tier disappointing, but he definitely is C tier disappointing. Had a pretty good first couple games, first 4 games, I would say he was decent. And then he was injured a little bit, right? And then after the bye week, he was doing pretty good. But again, just not producing enough and not stopping that run, which isn't his fault. That's not his type of play. But if we expect you to do a little bit better. So Larry Ogunjobi gonna go to a C for us. It is what it is. I don't expect the Browns to re-sign him. I think they're gonna move on from him, which I would figure is the right way to go. He had 2.5 sacks on a season, 1 forced fumble, and that was in the first game. He had a forced fumble. Um, yeah, not wasn't very good this season. His worst season actually or except for 2017. Um, yeah, Larry Ogunjobi the C tier. Sione Taki. Now, he definitely improved. So I'm just gonna put him at the B tier. Or you know what? I think this is tough. Okay, let me put Sione Taki at the A tier because considering what he was last year to now, he improved a, a great amount. He had 2 interceptions on the season, or sorry, 1 interception on the regular season and then an interception in the playoffs. And then he improved coverage wise. Stopping the run was kind of iffy, and at some points that was coverage, but he improved probably the most on the defense from last year till now. So I mean, Sione Taki, A tier, a low A tier though, not the top. Jacob Phillips, put him at probably the C tier. Actually, would be a little bit. I have him on B, but I think C is a little bit better because he didn't show up too much. There were some games though that he did show up in a good way. Was pretty good on coverage. Just wasn't very consistent, and it is his rookie year, so there's going to be some rookie struggles going on. But again, good linebacker. Happy we picked him up, and hopefully he does his thing next season. Moving on to Malcolm Smith. Malcolm Smith is a nice B linebacker. I'll just not very flashy, not Super Bowl MVP, but B.J. Goodson and Malcolm Smith, they really helped our coverage on tight ends a bunch this season. Remember last season, 2019, it seemed like every tight end would just kill us every game. In 2019, when we faced the Falcons, right, Austin Hooper had his biggest game against us when he was in the Falcons. So those two definitely saved us. So I'm just gonna break it for you guys here. Just put B.J. Goodson at the B tier as well. So those two definitely helped the defense to be much better than what it should be. Mac Wilson, boy, was that a disappointing. I have him on C, but I really think it's D level right here. He was not very good this season. He talked a lot on Twitter. Just Mac Wilson's a great guy and everything, nice dude, but man, he need to show up or he will. I don't think he'll make it next season. They didn't play him very much. They benched him at one point. For Sione Taki, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, yeah, he needs to step up and make sure he can make the roster next season. If not, then good luck to whoever has him. Adrian Claiborne, I liked Adrian Claiborne a little bit better than Porter Gustin, even though Porter Gustin had an interception against the Steelers. Um, but I'm gonna put Porter Gustin at a D just because he didn't produce a lot. Didn't get many snaps though, so it's not really his fault. And I like Adrian Claiborne at the C tier. Um, both nice depth pieces, just not the biggest playmakers, which you don't need unless you had a good really number two, which we didn't really have. So we're just gonna keep Adrian Claiborne at the C tier, and Porter Gustin, we're going to keep him at the D tier. Like I said last video, it doesn't mean that these guys are trash on the C, D tier. It just means, they just couldn't produce schematically for us. Just didn't get enough snaps. Maybe missed a couple games here and there. Um, but I know these guys, try their hardest every game and try to help the Cleveland Browns win, right? So thank you guys for watching. Like, favorite, subscribe. Tomorrow's video might be about JJ Watt, might not be. We'll see. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, favorite, subscribe, comment below what you guys would change. And yeah, peace.